One guy's seen it, the other guy hasn't. First guy's gonna tell the second guy all about it while they both get drunk.
All right, welcome to One Guy's Seen It, the only podcast where one guy has seen the movie, the other guy has not seen the movie, and the first guy is going to try to convince the second guy to see the movie, and if he succeeds, they'll take a break, watch the movie, come back, nerd out about the movie, and decide how many beers you need to enjoy the movie, all while getting progressively more inebriated, because that is what they choose to do with their sentience. And without any further ado, rigmarole, hoopla, or ballyhoo, let's get into it. Sumner, give me the skinny. How goes it, my friend?
It goes well. Yeah, thanks for showing up an hour late.
Jesus fucking Christ.
You know, it's funny because
French.
we were just talking about this before. I thought that the day was yesterday, and I called you, and and I was like, oh shit, I made it the wrong day, and then you just made fun of me relentlessly for about 20 minutes. And so I was so happy when I called you and you were like, hey man, what's going on?
And I was
like,
late
you
as hell.
Piece of shit.
There is nothing more challenging than two stoner movie geeks that live literally a world apart trying to coordinate a podcast with a 14-hour time difference. I mean, what does the world truly expect of us? We can't do everything.
Well, I was like, because you're a working musician, so I was just worried that you were like in the middle of like something important, but nah, you're just sleeping.
You think a working musician could ever be up to something important? You think I'm out here changing the world?
Yeah,
I'm out here making differences, and oh damn it! I should have let you finish that without interrupting, because then I could have made that a sound bite to promote the episode. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, this is just do a shameless plug for your new song.
Changing the world, one song at a time. I'm not doing shit for nobody. In fact, I was gonna.
Oh, sorry.
Say what?
I was like, can we do a One Guy's Seen It of your if One Guy's Heard It with your new single, and we have to see how many beers it takes to listen to your single.
Yes, but we have to snag people in a really predatory way. Like we need to have the song play right after the break, so people are like on the edge of their seat waiting to hear us react to the movie.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, side note, I just put a song out, so they have to listen to it.
It's brought to you by Jeff's Music.
Yes.
That's our only sponsor is your music.
Yeah.
It kind of is, though. I mean, you have all the like recording equipment, and like you edit our voices to make them sound better than they actually are.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Everybody's just faking it,
Yeah.
That's what, it's funny. It's the same thing with recording music. Like every producer has their own preferences and whatever. Like, it's funny. I remember when we first decided we wanted to do this, I was like, all YouTubing how to make your, podcast sound better than every other podcast. And it's like every audio engineer tutorial on YouTube has a completely different plugin chain, completely different ideas about like what your input level should be, how much compression you should use. And like when it comes down to it, all of them are like, it really just depends on like what you're trying to sound like. And I decided that we are trying to sound like One Guy's Seen It, so that means absolutely nothing. And
nothing yet.
Fucking tweak it. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Dude, I was late this morning. I'm shamelessly sorry about it. Shamefully sorry about it. I was up all night with some bad Taco Cabana that I seriously regret. And so I'm going back and forth to the bathroom, right, all night. Just a little TMI for our audience out there. And I'm on YouTube just trying to watch stuff to fall asleep. And I just keep getting suggested 9/11 stuff, right? Because it's 9/11, 22nd anniversary, and it's just all these videos. And there was this new, there was like this, I guess it's a newer version of an old, like I guess back in 02, or maybe it was 2010. I can't remember when the original one was done. but this documentary crew created like a video booth and had a bunch of people with their own stories from that day kind of come in and talk about their experience. And it ended up, I think, being a really popular documentary. I can't remember the name of it, but they did like a 20 years later reboot where they brought all the same people back in to talk about it again. And God damn it. Once I started watching 9/11 stuff, I can't stop watching 9/11 stuff.
You know,
so then it was like, poop, come back, watch the plane hit the tower. Poop, come back, listen to somebody's horrible story of survival. Poop, come back. It was just, man, it was this like feedback loop of tragedy and horror and bowel movements. And man, it was, and now here I am.
Well, I'm glad you
but
survived.
Shout out to our 9/11 heroes, man.
Yeah.
I still remember, I think I was in second grade, and I remember being in like the public, or I guess it was a library, like a school library, and I'll never forget it. I don't remember shit from first through the fifth grade, right? But like I remember every detail of that day because we were sitting there and our librarian was reading us like a Nancy Drew book, and I just remember her getting a phone call and just like the look on her face. I think it was her husband calling her. And she just like ran. I mean, we're a bunch of second grade children, and she runs over to the TV and turns it on. And I just remember seeing those buildings and like just not having any idea what was going on. And like we all got shuffled into the chapel.
Yeah.
And I remember our principal coming out and being like, it's a very sad day for our country. We're going to call your parents and we're going to pray and have everyone take you home. And, we're in second grade, like we're 7 years old. Like I remember me and my buddies were like, hell yeah, we can go home and play Pokemon Gold version all day. We were so hyped about it.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like I remember my parents picking me up in the car and looking back at me and which is the most serious look on their faces I've ever seen, being like, something really horrible happened today in our country. It's very scary. People are going to be acting strange. You're not really going to be able to understand it, but just... I just remember them trying to explain it to me, and all I cared about was like, where is my Capri Sun? Like, where's my juice box and my snack?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to get home. And
yeah, it's crazy. Your teacher would roll in the. I mean, I'm sure it was so crazy they weren't even really thinking about it, but like watching it as an 8-year-old, there's no way you would be able to comprehend what's going on.
Yeah, and to be fair, like she turned it off relatively quickly. Like I think her husband called her and was like, "Turn on the TV."
Yeah.
I don't think most people just didn't have words for what was going on. Like,
yeah,
like the whole time I was watching that documentary on YouTube, like there were all these other suggested videos coming up, and one of them was like this rare footage of Regis and Kelly, like their morning show, it sort of unfolding live as they were doing their morning show. And it was crazy because they had just started doing the intro when they got news that the first explosion had happened.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that most people didn't realize. I mean, how could you possibly realize it? Because so few people actually saw the first plane hit that everyone just assumed it was an explosion at first, and then that it was a plane, and well, that has to be an accident. And then as soon as you've got every camera in the world on the World Trade Center when that second plane hits, and just the collective moment when like everyone in the world realized that this was not an accident. Mm-hmm. And seeing fucking Regis Philbin, the pro that he is with his years of radio and TV experience, just handling that shit like a pro. Like I almost want to send you a link so you can,
yeah.
I mean, like there's no precedent for how to act when you're on national television doing a chipper, cheerful morning show when something like that happens.
No, it's
and
like
Kelly
goes against your better instincts as a morning show host.
Yeah, and Kelly Ripa was just a mess. Like she could not, she just couldn't handle it. She was a complete mess. And anyway, kudos, rest in peace, Regis. Yeah. He handled that shit like a fucking champ.
Yeah, I think you and I have the same like fascination with tragedy. We're both obsessed with World War II and 9/11 and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But it's interesting you say that because I remember I was real little. I had a bit of a different experience because I was like 4 and I don't remember much about the day. The only thing I remember, which is weird because I don't remember much from being 4, but I remember being home and my mom in the bedroom crying, and then I was just like in the other room and had no idea why anything was going on. So it's like I didn't really know much about 9/11 till years later. Like I had no frame of reference. Like nobody really told me because I was 4. There's no way I'm gonna get what's going on.
You probably can't even really comprehend it until you're at least several years older. And even then, you can't really comprehend it.
I think too, my mom was a little more freaked out because my dad, and I gotta ask him if he was, because I don't actually know for sure, but he would fly back and forth between San Antonio and New York all the time when I was a little kid. So he might have actually been in the area. I gotta ask him if he was actually in New York at the time. I don't know.
It's wild, man. Yeah, it's wild. And I don't know what it is. You mentioned that we both of us are so interested in war history and tragedy. It's like sometimes I try to look inward and figure out what that fascination's about, and I think it's just that inherently it's so hard. I think it's like a survival mechanism. Like the reason people are so interested in tragedy and learning about it and like the psychology of the people that perpetrate these things, it's like I think inherently it's almost like a survival mechanism. Like we want to understand why these things happen. They're so shocking and hard to comprehend, and it's like we want to understand it so that we can, I feel like it's a survival thing so that we can like somehow in some small way like be prepared if we ever, like I think one of my biggest fears is finding myself in a situation like that and not doing the right things in order to survive and help the people around me.
Right.
And it's like there's this thing where it's like I want to be prepared, so I want to learn everything that I can about how those things unfold. But anyway, it's interesting.
And I think people think about that as morbid, but I personally don't. I think it's fascinating, and I think there's a rich like history, and it's horrific. But I think like what you said, it's important to have those tools as like a base, so you're not caught off guard by anything really. And I think people of our dad's generation are obsessed with World War II too, so I think that also comes with that. Just because it's like tragedy, every tragedy you can think of, encapsulated in 5 or 6 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, not talking about that anymore.
No, yeah. Hey, and shout out to anybody who lost friends or family.
Yeah.
On that day of infamy.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. And we will always remember. It's hard to think about. Like, I was reading this article about how many soldiers that are coming fresh out of boot camp that weren't alive.
Yeah.
When it happened.
Yeah.
And
yeah, a bunch of
it's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just it was like I think it was like a New York Times article or something, but it was talking about these like drill sergeants and that are trying to explain to people what it was like, and it was, the article was talking about how it doesn't last. Like even you're briefly talking about it, and it's so hard for people who weren't alive during that event and then the 20 years of war that followed to really comprehend it, because the focus is so heavily on China and Russia right now.
Yeah.
That just seems like such a distant past to new soldiers that weren't alive for it. And like that was the first time I have truly felt old as fuck.
Yeah.
That like the conflict in Afghanistan and everything post 9/11, the conflict in Iraq, like all of that is just a distant memory to new soldiers right now that just weren't even alive for it. Like that's bananas. Yeah.
And you think about it too, like for the Vietnam kids, who were maybe some of them not even alive when the atomic bombs dropped, they had no frame of reference for that anymore either.
Yeah.
And it's just
that's almost more wild.
But yeah, it comes in cycles like that, where it's just like there's just a new thing that defines a generation, and that was like probably our most formative like tragedy during our childhood. Most people our age.
Yeah. But anyway, this is one guy seen it. Remember 9/11.
Remember.
Remember all of our heroes, our fallen heroes, and the heroes that continue to fall as a result of all of the fucking bullshit medical issues they're dealing with from being at ground zero for a year and cleaning up the wreckage and fuck all that shit, man.
Shout out to Jon Stewart for still fighting for that. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, man. He's okay. That talking about Jon Stewart and can be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
We got to move on here. All right, this is one guy's seen it. Well, what are we drinking? Let's drink.
Well, I started drinking this green tea thing today, and I don't really like green tea, and this is a really horrible bitter flavor. But I was like trying to drink something to keep me up for the podcast, and it's weird because in Japan they have a lot of drinks that they label as like health drinks. Like there's a energy drink I buy sometimes. It's like labeled a health drink, but it's just a Red Bull. Like if you like look at it any deeper.
Right. Yeah. I remember you telling me about that.
But this one claims that it burns fat, which I don't know if that's true at all. It doesn't seem true, but I've been drinking that, and I just opened a Kirin Prime Brew beer.
Nice. So you're kind of double fisting. You're getting the health energy benefits and then the beer in the other hand.
Yeah, but my mouth tastes like dog shit right now. So
nice.
What do you drink?
I'm drinking a fresh cup of HEB coffee with some Baileys mixed in there, and it is delicious. Some
nice
Baileys Irish cream.
You know, sometimes I throw a little Jim Beam in there with the Baileys.
That's just as good, man.
Yeah, a little bit of cinnamon. It's my shit.
Cinnamon. Okay. What are we got to be expedited here. Give me some hints. Let me try to guess this.
Okay. Well, this is the first movie that I've done that was based off a true story, and this is actually like it's pretty close to what happened. There are little bits that are done in the movie to change certain details, so it's not like a biopic or anything, but it's based on a true story. Happened in 1972, but the movie was shot in 1975, starring Al Pacino, John Cazale, and Chris Sarandon, who, if you remember The Princess Bride, he is Prince Humperdinck in the movie.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And
I love him.
He plays a great role in it, and he's almost unrecognizable if you don't know who he is.
Cool.
So the plot is 3 amateur bank robbers plan to hold up a bank. Unfortunately, things become a bizarre nightmare, as everything that could go wrong does. That's the IMDb plot synopsis. So it sounds...
Oh, I'm so excited.
It makes it sound a little more like action-y than it is, which is not really the movie, but it is a classic. I will say that. Is
this the story where the bank robbers think that if they like rub lemon pledge on them, it makes them invisible?
No.
Okay. There was some like ridiculous true story I heard the other day where it was like these guys read something that if they like covered themselves with lemon juice, it would like make them invisible, and they tried to rob a bank. Covered in lemon juice. Okay, different story. Moving on.
That sounds like an amazing story too.
Yeah, I'll have to find that and send you the link.
Following a bunch of schizophrenics.
Yes. Yeah, I have no idea. Okay, give me the title.
No, it's called Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, okay. I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's a super famous movie. Pretty ahead of its time for 1975. It touches on some really interesting topics that I don't think, especially in 1975, I don't even think would have been touched on even 20 years ago in some cases. And I think they got away with it because it's, based on a true story, and that actually happened this way. But they do a really good job, and they have like a lot of emotional, like they have a lot of empathy for the characters, and they don't like punch down to anyone in particular. I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to spoil the twists and turns, but really, really great movie. The plot has been parodied a bunch of times, so you've probably seen versions of it and like cartoons or something like that, like Simpsons or Family Guy or something.
Sweet.
But it's a wonderful film. I highly high marks. It's I think.
Hi, Mox. No, you can't give it a
Oh,
score
yes.
before I even watch it. What if I hate it? What if I
You could
shit
hate
all
it.
over
Yeah.
this movie?
If you hate it, please
What if
tell
I
me.
Taco Cabana diarrhea all over this fucking piece of shit movie?
I mean, that's what I did with They Cloned Tyrone last week. I was actually reading reviews of everybody just fawning over this movie, and I was like, yeah, I felt so justified. Even more so. I was like, yeah, you fucking idiots. You don't even know what you're talking about.
Hey, and I know you were worried you were too harsh on it, but when I was going back through and editing it, you weren't. You were just, I mean, all of your points were valid.
Yeah,
They
and
were-
I was just worried. I was like, I didn't want to like just say it was like a horrendous piece, because it's not like a horrible piece of shit. Like, there are good qualities. I just think the other good qualities are from other.
It's
other things.
okay to think that something was divinely uninspired and still appreciate it for what it is and the job that it's trying to do. That's what we do here on One Guy's Seen It. We watch movies and talk about them.
Yeah, I think
that is what we are gonna do with this movie.
Yeah, I think the only thing that annoyed me about that is everybody was acting like it was so original. I was like, nah, nah. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's okay.
We got a whole other podcast about that if you want to listen to that.
Yes, we do. So we are gonna go watch this movie. This is One Guy's Seen It. I am gonna decide. It's funny. In the intro for this podcast, I always say one guy's gonna try to convince the other guy to see it. I feel like I gotta drop that. We're always gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. Maybe I should just do one where you're really excited about it and you do all this prep and you're like, you tell me about the plot and I'm like, nah, that's it for today.
No, thanks. Yeah, I think we're just gonna go home.
Yeah, let's do something else.
I should have done that
We're always
last
gonna
week. I would
watch
have
the
been like,
fucking movie.
I'd have been like, nah, I don't want to watch that.
Dude, you should have. No, that would have been a fucking hilarious curveball.
No, that just would have been mean. I just would have been you're like telling me all about it. I'm like, nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, just save that for when you're really mad at me. And then just.
If you had picked one today, I would have done it to you.
Okay,
No,
we're gonna go
love
watch
ya.
this movie. We'll be back with One Guy's Seen It. Remember, when you hear that trumpet, it's on, Jack. Spoilers on the horizon. All right, we're back with One Guy's Seen It. We've just witnessed Al Pacino's acting masterclass in Dog Day Afternoon.
Dog day.
It was a dog day afternoon. Dude, please tell me he got an Oscar for this. He had to have gotten an Oscar for this.
Sadly, no.
What?
He didn't get one for The Godfather. He didn't get one for Dog Day Afternoon. Not for Scarface.
Did anybody win? Did it win like Best Picture or something? It had to have won something. Nominated
No.
maybe?
It was nominated for a bunch of things. Hold on, let me look it up. I'll see everything it was nominated for.
Because if it didn't get nominated, that's a big con job. The whole thing's a big con job.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think they had some pretty stiff competition. Here, I'm going to look it up on my computer, but just so I don't mess anything up, because there was some... It was quite a year, if I remember correctly, but I still think Dog Day Afternoon is in a league of its own. Hold on.
Yes, it was an elite.
Oscar.
It was an elite film.
An elite picture.
It was an elite picture film. I while you're looking that up, I was just saying earlier. I don't know how completely accurate I was, but I really tried to keep track of how many times I heard Al Pacino say yeah, and I counted 38. But if somebody is watching this movie and tell me that tweet us or X us at One Guy's Seen It, and tell me what the actual number of years was, because
how many little years are in there? Well, okay, so Al Pacino lost out to Jack Nicholson for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
oh, fucking Knack Jickelson ruining everything.
Have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
No,
Nest?
throw it on the list.
It's on there, but pretty understandable. Although I would have given the edge to Al Pacino personally.
Yeah, it was stellar, man. I mean, shit, like 80% of the movie was just close-ups on him just fucking acting his ass off.
Yeah, looking through this right now, yeah, they got snubbed in every single category.
God damn.
And lost to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for Best Picture. The nominees that year for Best Picture were One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Barry Lyndon, Stanley Kubrick joint, Dog Day Afternoon, Jaws, and then Nashville, which is pretty famous in its own right. So, I mean, it's fucking stacked year.
Yeah,
not gonna
some
lie.
stiff competition.
Yeah, but I think Dog Day Afternoon is my favorite out of all those movies. So I don't know. To each its own. Each their own.
It was so good, man. You know, it was funny. There was I'm so mad at myself because there was a moment when Chris Sarandon's character shows up and Leon, that was his name, right? The lover, the wife. I was so mad at myself because I had the thought, I had the full-on thought that, like, wow, this is so progressive for 1975. The story of a homosexual man in a relationship with a transgender man, and I had to stop myself before I realized it's a fucking true story. It's not progressive. It's just what happened. Like, I'm over here like, oh wow, it's so ballsy on the
right.
on the writer's part. It's like, I will, and that's okay. So that's kind of where I want to start. So I know this is a true story. I mean, how do you know how detailed the accounts of what? I mean, the whole thing was just surreal. Like it felt like, I'm curious how accurate sort of what went on inside the bank was. I guess they have plenty of firsthand accounts. All the hostages survived. He survived. So, I mean, I'm assuming there were extensive interviews and they got all of this info.
Well, they interviewed the real Sonny for the movie, and I think there are bits of him, like, in the screenplay, like things that he did. I think the stuff between the characters and especially the John Cazale part was fictionalized for the movie, just to make it work and for like character stuff. But as far as I know, with the Leon, the transgender wife, and this stuff with his wife and like how everything kind of unfolds, that's all pretty much true. That's pretty much how it went down, as far as I know. But the scene with the mother coming to the thing, I don't think that's true, and little things like that. But I think, as far as what happens in the movie, like plot wise, I think that's all true. What happened?
That's fucking crazy. Yeah, Al Pacino and Chris Sarandon both deserved fucking Oscars for that phone conversation. That was so great.
Yeah, it's probably the best scene in the movie. And I'm here, and I want to say Chris Sarandon didn't get an Oscar nomination, which is fucking travesty.
Well, and I don't,
incredible.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about his career or sort of how he's, how people think about his career. My only experience with him was Princess Bride, and he was amazing in.
He did get nominated. I'm sorry. He did.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know a ton about him beyond that. I know he was married to Susan Sarandon, and that's where she gets her name from.
Ah, interesting.
So they were married, and then she just ended up keeping the last name because I think she'd already been established in Hollywood at that time, and they ended up divorcing. But I think it was pretty amicable from what I've read. So I don't think there was any hard feelings.
Got it. Yeah, man. I mean, overall, I really loved it. Like, I don't think it's easy to do a sort of real time flick like that. You know, where everything's sort of happening in real time, and because especially when it's all sort of in one location, like you really need the ensemble to be great. The writing needs to be great. Like, you can't really cut any corners anywhere, and to keep the viewer engaged. I mean, inherently it's exciting because it's a fucking bank robbery, so it's not that difficult to stay engaged. But I mean, I have absolutely no complaints. I mean, really, like I just wrote down quotes that I loved throughout the movie. Like, I mean, as far as like plot development, there were, because it's a true story. There's no crazy themes to talk about here. There's no, deep narrative or metaphorical games being played or whatever. Like, it's just a story with incredible performances, and and just some really hilarious moments.
Yeah, it's all character based, all the like important thematic things that happen. But yeah, the plot itself is pretty. It's almost like a police procedural. Like you're just kind of going through step by step what happened in terms of, you know, dealing with the hostage negotiator, and then him trying to figure out what to do. And that was one of the things about his character that I really responded to a lot this time, like thinking about him, was that he had his head on a swivel the whole time. Like he was thinking, like he had a good like sense of what to do, like even when shit was getting crazy. His character in the movie, he was able to, you know, be diplomatic and not be totally insane, even though he does kind of go off the rails a couple times.
And, you know, I think that's what was so entertaining about it, was how, you know, especially in a situation like that where every moment, every decision, every person involved's actions on a moment-to-moment basis can drastically affect the outcome of things. Like, it was crazy that he was constantly... Like you said, his head was on a swivel. He managed to handle every situation that came his way, but things could have gone wrong in so many places on so many occasions. It's really just a fucking miracle that it got that far. I mean, how many robberies in that situation have never... I mean, every new development in the story, I just kept telling myself, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, there's no way this happened. And I know it was the fucking 70s, and I think that's part of what made it all feel so surreal, was knowing that it really happened, and just seeing, because like I've watched so many movies from the 70s and just the way that people kind of acted in films of that era, and sort of the way people in general acted during that time, and just all of it's so surreal, right? It's just like America is on the cusp of the technological revolution, and it's like it's so very close to the America that we know in so many ways, and so far removed from it in so many ways, and those little things that remove it from what would happen today are what make the whole thing so surreal and unbelievable the whole time.
Yeah, and that's always the impression I get watching old movies. I was like, everybody seems so well spoken, and like even when things like explode or like a character goes, everybody's like so polite too. Like it's a weird thing. Like people carried themselves differently like 50 years ago. I don't know if that's just you're watching an actor version of things, but everything is so realistic seeming, like the way everybody plays off of each other. And granted, in the movie, I think there was heavy rehearsals, so by the time they got to shooting, everybody knew their characters really, really well, and there was just a general like community of people that were, you know, creating the movie. But yeah, there's just such a quality about the movie that it feels like it's really happening. It doesn't feel like a Hollywood movie, and I think that's one of the charms about the movie.
Yeah,
that's still like doesn't date it, even though it's like firmly takes place in 1972.
Yeah, it's just a day in the life in 1972. I mean, here, I'm just gonna start going down the lines that I loved so much that I wrote down. I like early on in the movie when the henchman, the young henchman guy, just bails at the very beginning, and and he's trying to take the getaway car. And, and fucking Al Pacino's like, dude, take the subway. We need the car. What are you doing?
Sal, we need the car. Take the subway.
It's so funny. It's like there were so many scenes where it's like Al Pacino's character. What's his fucking Sonny, his intelligence is so questionable in so many of the scenes, and then sometimes he just does the right thing, and he's smart and empathetic, and it's like, I mean, he fucking when he sees the girl, what is this, a squirrel? With the girl under the desk. I was fucking laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I love the part where her husband calls, and the only thing he's concerned about is like when his dinner going to be ready.
Yes. All the people that were calling just added to the surreal, like just the most accommodating and well-mannered bank robbery of all time. Like it was all so comforting like it was funny. I had some
Yeah.
thoughts. It's like the fact that they didn't even wear masks, like was bizarre to me. It's like what you just really wonder. And it's like I love the head teller sort of momming him the whole movie, and
which is an interesting thing. Sorry to cut you off.
no, that's
but,
okay.
In real life, like her and Al Pacino were really good friends, and there was a story about her even giving him like a place to stay when he was an aspiring actor, and she was a big reason that he ended up breaking through in Hollywood. She talked him up all the time and got him roles in theater productions and stuff. So she was a big component early on in his career, which I thought was interesting.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. They were, it's funny. There was this moment where when the cops first show up and things get frantic, it was funny to me that a lot of the tellers reacted. One of the girls got all excited and was clapping. And it was my first thought was like, man, in their situation, I would be really pissed off if the cops showed up, because now there's going to be this long extended hostage situation, whereas they could have just left and gotten out. And I mean, So you talked about the scene, the phone call scene with Leon and Sonny was amazing, right? It's incredible shit. My favorite scene in the whole movie was when he's with the bank manager early on, right when the first cops get there, and they're in the back room and he's pushing the thing against the door. Their whole conversation there was like, he's like, you're not a bad guy. Like that whole, it just undressed him as a character, Sonny.
Yeah.
And immediately made me empathize with him and with everybody there. And I like that scene was magical to me. I don't know what it was about it, but just that.
No, I
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I agree with you completely, because I think there's there's a moment too when the kid leaves early on in the heist, and they have this moment of frantic. They don't know what the fuck to do. Like they have this whole plan, and then it gets upended by the kid wanting to leave and stuff. And I think that's also an endearing moment where it's like they not these big masterminds, they're just these regular dudes that are desperate enough to rob a bank.
Yeah.
And but that scene you're talking about too, I think is really important, and it frames it like he's very much just trying to be a person. Like he's not trying to strong arm the guy or like intimidate him or anything. He's just like telling him like, this is the deal. This is why I'm here.
Yeah. He's just trying to get through
I agree.
it.
That's a great scene.
Yeah. I mean, the instant evolution from bank robbery to show business is pretty awesome. Like, I mean, as soon as Sonny gets like the Attica chant going, he just becomes a rock star. And even all the hostages they just want to be a part of it. Like the head bank teller's like doing the interviews, and like I was just losing it. I really wanted to know how much of that really went down.
I think a good majority of it actually. I don't know about all the specific little interactions, like when he's on the phone talking to him, but it could be. I haven't looked into that part, but
yeah, like the fucking phone call with the creepy dude, kill them all, take your bayonets and shove it in him. I remember being just like, what the fuck? And like how quickly Al Pacino reacted to that. He was just like, ugh, whatever, bye. Like just, the guy hadn't even gotten a sentence out. I was like, wait, is this like the fifth time this guy has called saying this shit?
Right. And then he gives the phone to the girls later on, and then they just start like heavy breathing on the other end. Yeah. And he's like, wait, what is it? What the fuck is this?
I mean,
he starts freaking out.
I think the gold of the movie was just the relationships between the robbers and the hostages. It was what carried it. I mean, I guess it's really the only thing going on, but just the humanity of it all was beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. And that scene you were talking about too, when he's on the phone with the reporter, and he's like, and the reporter's so disconnected from reality, he's just trying to he's like, oh, why are you robbing a bank?
Why don't you get a job?
They got money in there. That's why I'm robbing the bank.
They got money in there.
and he's like, why don't you get a job? He's like, what's with this guy? What is he talking about?
Dude, I was on the floor laughing when the Spanish guy tackles him, and Moretti runs up and he's like, you know how the Spanish are. You got his girlfriend in there.
Yeah, just like the casual, like he's like, oh, that's a Spanish thing. That's what they do, you know. But yeah, I love his little thing when he's trying so hard to be like, he's like, I'm one of you, come on. And he's like patting himself down. He's like, wait, you want to frisk me? And he's like lifting his shirt. That shit always makes me laugh so hard. When he's like lifting his shirt up in front of everybody, he's like, I'm not packing nothing, see?
Yeah, man. I mean, that had to be a serious undertaking dealing with all those extras outside the bank. I'm always so obsessed with movies where you've got these scenes with a shit ton of extras, because instead of focusing what's actually going on in the scene, I can't help but just look at the extras and try to notice that they're extras. There were so many times that they were getting corralled by the police and they're just smiling in situations where they shouldn't be smiling because we're in a movie. Like, I love that shit.
It's a movie. Yeah, and I like that line later on where he's like, is one of Sal's best lines in the movie where he's this is like right when Leon gets there and he's like, two homosexuals inside the bank, and he's like, Sonny, you got to tell him to change that. And he's like, what do you want to do?
He's so concerned.
It's a freak show in here. But he's like, but I'm not a homosexual, Sonny. He's just so.
We need to shed a collective tear for Sal. It was. Oh yeah. It was poor guy, man. Yeah, he was so concerned the whole movie with things that just didn't matter.
Yeah, he's John Cazel's performance is so good, because there's a moment like looking at him, he's got these like really like big like puppy dog eyes almost. Like they're big and vacant, like he's kind of dumb, but he's not a bad guy. Like he's like an endearing, sweet guy. He's just like, there's even a scene where Sonny mentions, like killing them and throwing the bodies out the door, and he's like, you can tell how conflicted he is the way John Cazale plays it.
Yeah.
He's like, but I'll do it. And he's so dead set on it. And it's really heartbreaking because he's not really understanding that Sonny's just putting on a front just to mess with the cops. He just, he's not really getting it.
Yeah.
And it's a little sad, but
do you have
John Cazale is perfect.
Yeah, yeah, he was awesome. I was going to ask you, do you have any context for, there was like, when they're talking about going to Algeria the whole time. They just decided to go to Algeria. I forget, they're talking about it, and somebody says something about Matt. Is he talking to his wife? And there's a scene with him talking to his actual wife with the two kids was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But was she the one that was talking about like and they're all wearing masks in Algeria, and they like.
Oh yeah.
Like what do you
a bunch of crazy people?
Yeah. Do you have any context for what was going on in Algeria at the time, or what that was about?
No, I wish I did. It must have been something in the news at the time that either the screenwriter wrote in, or it was something that they said on the phones.
Yeah.
I have no idea. There must be some context for that, but I'm not sure. Actually, I think he's talking to Leon when he's saying that, and then Leon's like, hey, they wear masks. They're a bunch of crazy people over there.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Hey, Holland is pretty good. They sheltered people during the war and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to say, before we get too further into it, the Attica line when he
yeah. So what happened? What happened in Attica? I don't know anything.
It was a prison riot that happened, I think, the same year, like 72, maybe. But it was a prison riot brought on by police brutality, I think, and then the prisoners rose up and fought back. So it was definitely a social commentary for the time, but on set, that line was totally improvised. They had no idea that he was going to say it on the day of, and he just started screaming it, and the crowd went insane.
What?
And they couldn't calm the crowd down. They were actually going nuts.
No fucking
they were really
way.
into it. Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool piece of trivia, and I think even Al Pacino credits the sound man or one of the lighting technicians was like, hey, you should say this. He's like, all right. And he just ran with it and just did it.
Oh, man, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little disappointed because I thought that may have been one of the few real things that happened that galvanized the crowd with him.
Yeah.
I'm a little, it's awesome. It's awesome trivia that's what happened, but I'm a little bummed that didn't really happen.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. But the thing with at the end with the gay group coming and like out of the closet into the streets, I think that did actually happen after they found out that he was married to a transgender woman.
Yeah, what a wild story. So he was a Vietnam War vet.
Yeah.
And I mean, shit, the dude needs a movie. I mean, I know this was a movie about his life, but I want a movie about the rest of his life.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say he got released from prison, but I really don't know. I know he sold the film rights for the movie, and that's how Leon in real life got her sex change operation.
Holy fucking shit, that's a beautiful piece of trivia. That is money in the bank, no pun intended.
Yeah. But yeah, oh god, I wrote down way too many notes. I wrote down like 6 pages of stuff.
So what's the
just little details?
Wait, so before you get into it, what's the public's like? I mean, so he's out of jail. Obviously, he's been out of jail for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know actually. Here, let me look that up.
Because
I'll see if I can find anything.
I'm genuinely curious how. I mean, it's Hollywood's really good at making you root for guys like this, but I'm sort of curious how the public reacted to it and how they react to him in history. Like when is he? I feel like he'd just be a celebrity once he got out.
Yeah, he so he died in 2006.
Oh shit!
At 60. It says he died in his mother's home. Oh gosh. So ooh god. Sorry, I'm reading all this right now. It's probably not interesting.
No, it's okay. I was curious. Well, and so not to jump around, but I'm just jumping around because I'm slightly drunk. So
yeah.
Oh shit! Hold on, fucking FaceTime coming in. So so I really kept thinking. I just want to go back to Sal's death for a second.
Yeah.
I really kept thinking the whole movie at some point Sal was just kind of gonna snap, especially toward the end when a lot of the focus was on Sonny and he was having his will written and he was taking all the phone calls and Sal was just kind of in the back room and Sonny really wasn't being accommodating of him at all. I really thought he was just gonna like lose it at some point. And so going to his death scene, like it happened so fast. Like walk me through what happened there. So like the FBI guy kind of comes up to the car, and was there like, did the driver have a gun on the dash? Like I tried to figure out what the fuck happened.
No. So in the little armrest on the door, they had like a little trap door in there, and he just kind of flipped it open, and there was a gun hidden inside the little trap door. And so he tells Sal to put his gun in the air, because he doesn't want any accidents at this point. And then he kind of looks to the guy, and Sonny's just got his rifle in his hand, like pointed up too. So the other FBI guy grabs the rifle and slams it against the dash, and then the driver turns around and shoots Sal in the head. It happens. Yeah, the cuts are really quick, so that's another reason that's shocking too, because you don't even. It's like whiplash. You don't have a chance to even think.
Yeah, I was curious if that's really how it went down, because it seemed really risky on the count of the officers. Like they went the whole movie not taking any risks whatsoever, and I'm really curious how that actually went down, because it seemed a little unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it must have been similar, because they did some. Because even scenes in the movie, the officers did some questionable things. Like I think there's even a line at the beginning when Moretti's character is talking to the FBI. He's like, "Why didn't you get them when they were like trying to get out? Like if you knew that they were in there, why did you call and let your presence be known and let them, get all the hostages?" He's like, "Well, I was, just trying to deflate the situation, like something that doesn't make sense."
Yeah,
it was just like must have been a real police blunder because it happened. So, I mean, I think it's in the realm of plausibility that they just were like, fuck it, we're tired, we're just going to take care of this now.
Damn, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Well, get into your list of notes. What's going on?
Oh, yeah, gosh. Oh, well, I did want to call attention to the fact that Sonny's dad is, he's got a tiny part, it's like blink and you'll miss him, but it's played by Dominic Chianese, who is Uncle June from The Sopranos.
I did notice that. Fucking awesome. He just did not look anything like himself, but I fucking knew it was him.
Yeah, little bit part. I think he was in Godfather Part 2 the year before. He had a tiny part in that also. But yeah,
Pretty cool.
Yeah, one thing I did want to talk about too is like, for a movie that takes place in one location, then you think, okay, it's taking place in one location, it's going to be kind of slow, character driven. But rewatching it this time, I was like, it's really not. It's really fast paced for like probably half the movie. Like things just keep happening and happening and happening for like the first hour of the movie. I feel like,
Yeah.
like you don't really get a chance to breathe between scenes. Like they walk out and like talk to someone, and then they walk back in, the phone's ringing, and they're already doing something else.
Yeah. No, I was on the edge of my couch the whole time.
Yeah, I think things start to slow down at the end when, the reality of the situation hits, and especially with those two phone calls, it's really, I think it's probably my favorite thing that Al Pacino's ever done, acting-wise. I just
No
think it's
shit.
about as good as you can get. Just because the reason that is because it is all done in one take also on his side, because they intercut with his two wives, I suppose, but they intercut that whole scene, but it's really just a long take of him in between that, and they only did it twice. So there's a scene, or there's like a little moment like at the end of the speech where he like puts his hands against his face and like kind of presses them against his cheeks, and off screen the director's telling him, he's like, run it again, like from the beginning.
Holy shit.
And that was his reaction. So the scene, his take that you see in the movie is the second take.
Wow.
The more exhausted, exacerbated one.
Wow.
So it's really, really well done. And there's just the way he portrays like this manic paranoia is really it's exciting, and it's exhausting too.
Mhm.
It's perfectly done.
Yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and oh god, I wrote down way too much. There is a scene when the cop is talking to Leon and just trying to get a sense of who Sonny is, and he basically describes, that he tried to kill himself, and that they've had this really fraught marriage, and he's kind of not a really great guy. He's kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah,
too.
I was a little lost in a couple of places when Leon's talking about him putting a gun to his head, and yeah, there were a few things that didn't really add up for me, and I don't remember if the actual wife Angie had said something about him, like they were at a carnival or whatever, and the kids were getting on a ride, and he's gonna bury me and put me in the river and shoot me. I don't remember if she said that he put a gun, but clearly he was kind of losing his shit right before all of this.
Yeah, I think he had said similar things to both of them about like killing them, or it just empty threats, but we don't really have any context for how bad those situations were. But from Leon's reaction, it seems like it was bad enough to have him be terrified to even talk to him.
Yeah.
He says a line at the end, like after Leon tries to commit suicide, and he just mentions that Sonny said something when he woke up. He's like, "Why, Leon, when things were going so well?"
Yeah.
When everything you've heard, like obviously they're not going well at all. Which I just think it says so much about his character, that one little line. He's able to just kind of push all the bad shit out of his mind until it just explodes into, what you see in the movie, I suppose. Yeah,
into madness. And you see the sort of madness of their relationship where at the end of it, with everything going on, they just kind of, they get through all that and they're just kind of back to normal. And it's, bye. Love you.
Yeah. Yeah. And, an interesting thing with the phone call scene too is like, I noticed this time he uses the same thing with both his wives, where he's like, "I'm dying here," and Leon's the only one to call him on it and be like, "Yeah, you're dying up here. Like, what about the people around you?" Like, basically telling him he's full of shit.
Yeah.
It's your own fault. And then he says the same thing to Angie, his other wife, and she basically just goes on this tirade totally about herself and doesn't really talk about him at all. And he just gets frustrated and, slams the phone down. And it's just, it's interesting character stuff and character work. I don't know, just little things I thought were interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think... Oh, I did want to mention the Wyoming line because I think that's my favorite line of the movie.
which was very exciting to me because I'm going to the Texas-Wyoming game this weekend. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll be
in Austin.
Yeah, in Austin, but I think it's the first time. I think it's gonna be the first time Texas has played Wyoming in a bajillion years. We did, for the record. Sorry, I'm a diehard Texas Longhorns fan and alumni. We just took down the Alabama Crimson Tide for the first time since I don't even know when the fuck. We beat Nick Saban at home by double digits. It's the first time Alabama has lost a game by double digits at home since under Nick Saban. Sumner, they were 52-1 at home before we won this game. And I am so proud to not say that Texas is back because fuck that shit, but Texas is elite and we are on the way back. And Bevo Boulevard on Saturday is going to be off the chain, and I am so hyped about it. Sorry, little college football segue there, but yes, Wyoming. Get back to it.
Man, I wish I was there. That sounds awesome.
I'm so ready.
Yeah, the Wyoming line is another great improvised line by John Cazale.
Oh shit, that was improv. That's amazing.
Yeah, he just looks at him and he just, Wyoming. With a straight face, is like, "Is there any special country you want to go to?" And he's, "Wyoming."
That's so cool that they played it off and just kept writing with it. Yeah, when he's talking to his wife.
Yeah.
Or who's he talking to? Where he's like, Sal thinks Wyoming's another country. Who's he talking to? Is it Angie?
Leon.
Oh, it's Leon. Yeah, it is Leon.
Yeah. But yeah, that little bit, it tells you so much about John Cazale's character. But yeah, I love the way Al Pacino just rolls with it. He's like, Wyoming's not a country. So yeah, that's okay. I'll think about it.
Hey, and shout out to Leon, who's now living as a woman in New York. Good on you, Leon. Well, I don't know if she's still alive, but
yeah, I'd have to look that up. But
happy ending there.
I'm hoping so. Hoping so. Yeah, and I did want to say there's I don't know if you noticed this, but Pacino does this thing the whole time where he's kind of like he widens his eyes and pulls his mouth back a lot. And watching it this time, he does it so frequently. I was like, it's almost like a Tourette's thing, like a tick. Like every time he does it.
Interesting. I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or if that was just literally just him so stressed out he was just making faces through some of the scenes. But yeah, just an interesting little detail I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was absolutely blown away by his performance. Everybody, the whole ensemble was awesome. I'm a big fan of this movie, and I am so grateful to you for showing it to me.
Yeah, I mean, off the heels of The Godfather, I mean, it's talk about polar opposite performances.
Yeah, for real.
And John Cazale was in Godfather also, which I think was a big reason he pushed for Al Pacino to be in, John Cazale to be in the movie. But on the page, it was written for an 18-year-old blonde Italian kid.
Oh, weird.
And so he didn't fit the description at all. But
they were so good together. Their chemistry was awesome.
Yeah, and that's why he pushed for him so hard. He's like, I just know that it'll just work with John better than anybody. So he got the role in the movie, and I think it's better for him being in it. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're wrapping up here at the end of One Guy's Seen It. Sumner, it's time to give it our rating. On a scale of 1 to 5 beers, how many did you need to enjoy Dog Day Afternoon?
It is so boring, but 1. Yeah, maybe even less. Because I was writing notes so often, I didn't even have time to drink my beer during the movie.
That's awesome. A practical answer. I'm gonna say none. I really, really loved it. I'm gonna give it. I don't know if that's my first perfect score.
Yeah. Well, I would have given it none too because
you
I thought we
physically
always
couldn't even drink your beer.
Well, no, because we always say it's better with at least one beer. I thought that was a perfect.
God, it's true. It's true. You know what? Okay. Maybe we revise the scale, right? Maybe no movie. No, we can't revise the scale. We can still give a movie a 0 beer score and say that every movie is better with at least one beer. Because
we had one anyway.
Yeah, because hypocritically I had one anyway, but it was a choice. It wasn't necessary. See, there's some complexity to this scale, some caveats, but that's what makes the scale beautiful and perfect in every way.
No issues. But I echo your sentiments completely. Yeah, I think it's a bona fide classic.
Bona fide classic.
I think it's one of the best of the 70s for sure. Top 10 for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a banger. You guys got to join us next week for another episode of One Guy's Seen It, where all your hopes and dreams come true.
You picking one next week?
I got one next week, so prepare for disappointment.
I can't wait, honestly.
Yeah. And thanks for being the guy who's seen it this week. You always do such a fantastic job with your research and your trivia and your know-how and your knowledge of the who's and what's its.
Got lots of who's and what's its.
Yeah, and you know, Sonny, we'll be back next week.
Sal and Sonny signing off.
Sonny signing off. Man, that's hard to say.
Sal and Sonny signing off. That's almost an alliteration, right?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right. We'll see you next week, losers. This is One Guy's Seen It. Peace.
Bye.
One guy's seen it, the other guy hasn't. First guy's gonna tell the second guy all about it while they both get drunk.